Good morning. I'm gonna do a little weekly vlog, but not very in depth, kind of relaxed. I'm trying to organize a lot this week. I think my last one was the first week of March. This one is now the first week of April. Like, it's April 1st. Happy April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day. I don't have a lot going on except for Easter, and I'm only reading one book as of now. I might go to the bookstore this weekend if I have extra time to get a book for my upcoming, like, down the rabbit hole part, like episode 2. It's going to be on doing my white girl homework. So I'm going to be reading White Fragility. I started this one last year and I already read, what's that book called? So You Want to Talk About Race? I think. I know it's by Ijeoma Oluo. I read that one. And then I started White Fragility. I started it on my Kindle. I think I rented it from the library. I think I want physical books for this section in particular just because I really do feel like I'm doing my white girl homework. So I want to like write in the margins and yada, 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 stuff like that. So even just like physical books, even from the library where I can like mark up and put tabs in, are a lot easier than Kindle editions because I feel like I can't like flip back through them to talk about them later, which is kind of the whole point. Yeah, I want to go get White Fragility. And yeah, what I'm reading this week is actually, I'm only reading one book right now, which is kind of crazy. And I'm hoping to finish it soon because I'm reading Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. I am on page 208. I think there are 309, 307, one of those odd numbers pages in this book. Whoa, this book is actually giving me anxiety. Like, I think I've had really bad anxiety the past 2-ish weeks, and I literally think that this is one of the reasons. I think there are other, but I literally think that this is keeping me awake. But I want to finish it, especially now because I'm so far into it. Like, I do kind of want to see how it ends. I know that he is in jail for a murder that has, I mean, like, I guess, spoiler alert, this book came out in fucking 1950. If you want to read it, skip ahead. I don't like, I'll put chapters if I can figure out how to put chapters on a YouTube video. I'll try and figure out how to do it so I can do it here. Lolita, if you don't know, this book is about a pedophile who kidnaps this girl. He basically like marries this woman and she has a 12-year-old daughter and he becomes infatuated with her, and then she dies and he literally kidnaps her and takes her on a cross country road trip, and like she becomes his ward. And it's kind of about her, it's told from his perspective. The forward is a fake forward. I mean, I guess it's a real forward, but it's fake in the fact that it's fiction. It's written by a doctor who is reading the memoir. Lolita is kind of a memoir of this guy in prison. He writes this, and then I think he ends up dying in prison. I don't know how. And this is the doctor saying this guy's disturbed. This is his memoir that he like requested somebody to read. So that's the very first part. So you already know going into it that, like, first off, we have an unreliable narrator. He's fucking crazy, and you do know ahead of time about his pedophilia and his preferences, if you will. So the book is set up that way. You kind of know basically everything going in, I would say. I like, maybe not little details, but you know that he's in jail for a murder. You know that he likes little girls. You know that he's crazy. You know all of these things from the very first part of the book. And so yeah, where was I going with that? I don't even know. Unreliable narrator. Something that is like really interesting to me is that, yes, you know he's an unreliable narrator going in, but like, oh my god, like, you would be able to figure it out by yourself because he is such a narcissist. He, even though his narration style, his style of writing is so pretentious, it's so, I want to say eloquent, but not really in a good. It's not eloquent because I would say it's almost chunky. The way that he uses words and the words that he uses specifically, he's just so like. And next door, an art dealer displayed in his cluttered window a splendid, flamboyant green, red, golden, and inky blue ancient American estampe, a locomotive with a gigantic smokestack, great Baroque lamps, and a tremendous cowcatcher hauling its mauve coaches through the stormy prairie night and mixing a lot of spark-studded black smoke with the what? With the furry thunderclouds? Okay. He just writes, it's very descriptive. It's very much using vocabulary words that are just interesting, stodgy and solemn, looking like a kind of assistant executioner with his bulldog jowls, small black eyes, thickly rimmed glasses, and conspicuous nostrils. He was ushered in by John, who then left us, closing the door upon us with the utmost tact. Softly saying he had twins in my stepdaughter's class, my grotesque visitor unrolled a large diagram he had made of the accident. It's just like all very, very descriptive, very flamboyant, very extra, which to me reads like somebody who wants, I mean, not that I don't think he's not smart, but wants to come across as the smartest man in the room and the most elegant man in the room and the most interesting man in the room, and you're not. You're just a fucking loser who likes little girls. So that's Lolita. I only have 100 pages left. I'm at the part where they have left the town that they were in for a little bit. Lolita, one thing about her character, Dolores, or Dorothy, wait, what is her real name? She goes by Dolly. I'll just call her Dolly. It has to be Dolores. What the fuck? Dolores, one thing about her, she's really feisty, and I appreciate that about her character. Again, we're told from the perspective of a man that like wants to frame her a certain way, but if any of the interactions are true, she's got a little spark in her. I'm curious to see where this goes. I'm curious to see where Dolores primarily ends up. I don't know if we're gonna know. And that's Lolita. I am kind of happy that I'm reading it. It's been on my shelves for a very long time, and I feel like it is such a highly discussed novel. It's so referenced, especially like with I think people are just going to continue to come out with books that are like this. My Dark Vanessa, Half His Age, any sort of like I think like American Beauty is a movie where this could be referenced. There are a lot of media creations that have come out that have been compared to Lolita, and Lolita is referenced a lot. So, and like just interesting in the cultural lexicon in general, I literally just learned that Lolita was the one book that Jeffrey Epstein kept by his bed, which is disgusting, especially after reading it again. It's giving context to the whole situation. This guy is such a clear asshole. Like Nabokov like really is drilling in how fucking idiotic and what is the word I'm looking for? Detestable Humbert is. And the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was like, I see you. Oh my god. Biggest fucking eye roll in my goddamn life. Okay. But yeah, I think that's all the comments I have on Lolita. I'm going to finish it. I have Friday off, so I might finish it in a coffee shop. Who knows? I don't know yet. I don't really want anybody to see me reading Lolita in public, is the thing. So maybe I'll finish it by tomorrow night. Whatever. Who knows? Okay, so I figured out my April TBR. This month is a little like willy-nilly, if you will. The pile is right here. I have even more books. This is kind of like a basically what I did is I picked out, I'm starting a new Down the Rabbit Hole series, I guess, episode. And so there are some books that I don't have on hand that I will be reading, and then I did add my book of the month picks, my book of the month pick, and my aardvark pick to the list. And what else? I think those are the only things that I don't have actually on me. Although I was kind of like looking around my apartment at the books that I have and feeling a little maybe uninspired, so I might see what I have at the library and pick some things that I have like saved on the apps, if they're available. I don't know. We'll see. Actually, now that I think about it, I have Phantasma saved and I started reading it, but I stopped. So maybe that's not on my list, but maybe I'll finish it. I'm like 20% of the way through it. I don't think I'm gonna like it very much, but now that I've started it, but I don't like hate it. So like why not keep going? You know what I mean? Anyway, these were the books that I went through my apartment and I picked out. I picked out the ones that I like definitely wanted to read and I added them to my Notion spreadsheet. And then last month I feel like I had a very digestible TBR for me. Even though I didn't read anything, I felt like it was an amount of books that like was comfortable to pick from rather than being extremely overwhelming. And so then from there, I took other books and I like a bunch of other books from my apartment that I was like kind of considering and I put them into a random wheel generator thing spinner and I just went until the page amount was about the same. Which maybe that's an insane way to do something that is not that serious, but it works for me. And that's the way it'll be done. So this is what has come of that. I'll go over the ones that like I definitely wanted to read first, and I'll start with my last month book of the month pick, which was Kin by Tiari Jones. Tiari? I'll have to look up how to say her name, but this is about two black women. They're sisters in the South. Oh, they're friends, sorry. Sparkles with wit, intelligence, and deep feeling about two lifelong friends whose worlds collide in the face of a devastating tragedy. They live in Honeysuckle, Louisiana. Honeysuckle, Louisiana. That's so April. Okay, so that was the first one I chose. And then the second one where I was like, yes, is If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga. I have had this on my shelves for a while. I got this from Powell's when I went to Oregon a couple years ago. Shout out that bookstore. That shit is so cheap. Although I'm seeing that for some reason it was $7 and then for some reason it jumped to $10. I guess I'll never know. There's three stickers stacked on top of each other. I don't really know what this is about, but the very first line is in a post Arab spring Cairo. And I was like, that's enough for me. Two unnamed characters meet and fall in love. Okay. And I was like, yeah, I guess I will be reading that in the spring. So if, if an Egyptian cannot speak English, that's on the list. And then finally, I have this series, this middle grade series that I read when I was like in the fourth grade. And they've been on my shelves. I bought them off of Pango Books a while ago, but I haven't read them. I haven't reread them. And so I picked all three of them up to read, maybe binge in one weekend, maybe this weekend if I finish Lolita. Like by tomorrow afternoon, I might be picking these up. This is the Tales of the Frog Princess series. I don't remember what it's about. The back says that it's about a clumsy princess that wishes for an escape from her frustrating life, and she never expected it to happen by kissing a frog named Prince Edric. Edric? I just remember these being a little goofy, a little fun, a little whimsical. I mean, I did read them when I was a child, so of course I did. Um, but I didn't, I feel like they won't be that hard to get through. And hopefully I have still fond memories of them. And I also just realized that there's a fourth, and I didn't get the fourth. So maybe I'll rent that from the library. I don't know. I think I only read three when I was a kid, so maybe the third ends well. Okay, and then from the spinner, these were the three books that it pulled out. The first was The Duke and I by Julia Quinn, a little romance, a little fun. I mean, why not for spring? And it looks so flowery. So there's that one. I don't feel like I need to tell you what that one is about. Another one that I loved as a child, I read this in middle school. It is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Liba. Is her name Liba or Liba? Liba. It has to be Liba. Liba would be a really weird name. If that is her name, I apologize. Liba Bray, who wrote something. The Diviners? I haven't read those books. Anyway, I read this in the second grade with one of my friends, not second grade, seventh grade with one of my friends. It's about this girl who, like, her mom disappears in this. She lives in India and colonized India, and then her family moves back to England. And her mom gets like sucked into this magic world, and then there's this love interest. Yeah, I obviously got this at Half Price Books for $5. I think there's three or four of these in a series. Maybe I'll have to pick up the other ones, but the it takes place in the Victorian age. The world that she goes to, I remember it's very like naturey. I feel like a theme that I was going was floral nature moment. Like I'll show you the books that didn't get picked. Actually, none of that makes any sense. It made sense to me. So that was the choice that the spinner gave me. And then finally, I have A History of Wild Places by Shea Earnshaw. I don't know what this is about either. I got this from Book of the Month in December of 2021, and I haven't read it. I think it's about damn time. It is about a secluded community, and it says it's hauntingly beautiful, hypnotic, and bewitching. A History of Wild Places is a story about fairy tales, our fear of the dark, and losing yourself in the wilderness of your mind. Yeah, that sounds like spring to me. So that was added. Okay, and then one that I'm keeping on my shelf, my TBR shelf, but I don't know if I'll read it, is Spoiled Milk by Avery Curran. This I got last month from Aardvark, and when I was putting all of last month's books away, I just couldn't put this one away. I want to read it really bad. I don't know if it's Screaming April, but I want to read it really bad. So I'm keeping it on the shelf. Okay, and then the other books that were not chosen. Sorry to these fellas. I got out The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune just because I felt like a little. TJ Klune, although I feel like he does have like heavier messages, maybe they're told in a very whimsical way. So I don't even remember what this book is about. He's like hope core. I feel like that's perfect for spring. So I pulled that out. And then I was staring at my horror shelf and I was like, I kind of want to pick something out from here, but like horror in April, like that doesn't sound cohesive to me. But then I was like, okay, maybe like, like nature horror, environmental horror type of deal. So I pulled out the only one that I have that could even be remotely close, which is You Weren't Meant to Be Human, which has worms all over the cover. The rest of them are like witch books, witches and vampires and cannibalism, which is not the vibe. I mean, actually, I did kind of consider House of Beth by Carrie Cullen for a second, but yeah, this was the one I pulled. I'm kind of actually grateful that the spinner didn't pick it because I don't know if I would have read it. This one has been on my list for months since I got it, and I still haven't read it, and I still want to read it, but that is The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. Oh my god, should I leave it? I do want to read it. A Crow. Some of these just like scream rainy day material, which is today actually, but it's a fucking Thursday, so I had to work. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna put it away yet. Next is Paper Names by Susie Luo. I feel like I picked this out to potentially read every spring. I got this in my book of the month, May of 2023. And I still haven't gotten to it yet. And I still, like, even when I do these random pickers, it doesn't pick it. I feel like I should do a video that's like oldest books in my collection because there are some that like I like the ones that I've owned the longest, not like that were written the longest ago. There are some that I have not gotten to that I have had for a very long time, and I feel like that's a waste of money. And because I'm constantly getting new books, especially because I have book of the month in Aardvark, sometimes it's just like, oh, I'll get to it one day, but like will I? So that's a concept. Next is a book that my grandmother gave me. Another It's Giving Rainy Day book. I'm almost embarrassed to hold this up because of like I don't know anything about this, but I know my grandma loves this author, which I feel like that should say enough. This is a book that she gave me, and that is Tailspin by Sandra Brown. I think that this author does like thriller romances. I've listened to audiobooks with her on road trips, and that's usually what she's listening to. And so I feel like that's what this book is about. I did read the back and I was like, I just don't understand. It didn't pick it. I'm kind of sad it didn't pick it, but it's okay. I'll read it. I'll get to it because that's just who I am. There's that. Okay, and then finally, I have Discontent by Beatrice Serrano, translated by Mara Faye Letham. This is about a girl who hates her job and then she's taken on a corporate retreat, maybe. I bring him up in every single video, but I just saw Bookbench read this and recommended it, so I pulled it out. It's also so short that I thought maybe I would read it. The spinner wheel didn't choose it, so it's going back up there, but I hope to read this soon. It looked good. And yeah, other than that, oh, the books that I don't have at the moment are White Fragility and Why I'm No Longer Talking to People About Race. Those are the ones that I'm doing for my episode. And then Our Sister's Keeper, and Our Sister's Keeper is by Jasmine Holmes. I think it's about, actually, I have no idea what it's about. I have literally no idea, and I don't have the book. So sorry. And then I have Molka by Monica Kim, who is the author of The Eyes Are the Best Part. And that book is about Korean spy cams that people put in like bathrooms, and it's a horror novel. That's what I know about it. I'm looking forward to that one. I got that one from Book of the Month, and it came out early. And you know what else I saw at Book of the Month? But I don't want this version. I want to read Yesteryear so bad. Also, I just learned that the author of that book is one of the co-hosts of Diabolical Lies, which I just discovered in maybe like January. I started listening to them, and then like 2 weeks ago, okay, I had heard about that book and I was like, that sounds really fucking good. And then I saw their episode on Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo in like the skinnification of Hollywood. And I listened to that and I was like, these people are fucking good. Like, I love this podcast. And I've been listening to them since then. And then 2 weeks ago, I learned that she wrote that book, one of the co hosts. They never bring it up. Like, they never promote it, I feel like, in that podcast in the couple of episodes that I've listened to. So I had no idea. I feel like in January you would be promoting whatever, it doesn't matter. I think that episode came out in November, so like who knows when this book like started to hit the marketing cycle. I have high hopes. I've heard good things about it and I really like them. Like both of the girls that do that podcast. So I really want to read it, but I didn't want that fucking ugly Book of the Month logo on the side of it. So I think I might go to my bookstore on Tuesday. Actually, I think I'm going to go this weekend. I might buy a physical copy of White Fragility and then ask them if I can pre-order it or if like they think that it's going to sell out or like what they think, and then maybe I'll go again on Tuesday. Anyway, that was a really long rant. I'm going to my friend's house in like 2 hours. I'm just gonna read Lolita, I guess, until then. I might take a nap, but I did want to let you know what my beautiful April TBR is going to be. I actually, you know what? I might read this after I finish Lolita, these books, because I will need something light and I will need something fun and whimsical and carefree because damn, that book. I literally can't wait for it to be over. I think I have 75 pages left, maybe. Oh my god. No, probably more than that. I think I probably have around 80. I'm tired of reading about that man. I'm tired of reading about him. I'm tired of reading from his perspective. I'm glad that I read it and I wouldn't not recommend it. It's like a really thought provoking book. Not only just because, like, not thought provoking, like I have to constantly be thinking, is being a pedophile bad? Thought provoking in the sense that, like, you're constantly thinking about his perspective on things because that's what you're hearing and how that might relate to what is actually going on because he's a narcissist and an unreliable narrator. And then also the language is so flowery and boisterous, if you will, that like I feel like I have to really like lock in to kind of like see what point he's trying to make. It's a very interesting novel. I'm just tired of reading about the sexualization of a 14-year-old girl, frankly. So, I think I will read something nice and light after that, and I think it will be Tales of the Frog Princess. I literally think I could finish this in like 3 hours. Probably less. I'm not a very fast reader, but that's why I'm like, maybe I could finish this in like 2 days. And I don't work tomorrow. Yes. 3 day weekend, baby. God, the doors are opening. The sun is not shining. It's actually raining really hard today. But I feel it in my soul. Okay, so I did finish Lolita last night. I originally, like when I, before I was going to bed, I finished it at like midnight, and honestly, the last maybe 20 pages, I was kind of like, I want this to end. Which might not reflect align with what I'm about to say about this book, but I did end up giving it 4 stars. And after thinking about it this morning, I might bump it because this was a really well done book. This was incredible to me. I think it's very good. I think that it's uncomfortable, obviously, and I think that it's controversial, obviously, but I think it's good. Nabokov does such a good job at hiding the discomfort in this superfluous and flamboyant language, and he almost makes you forget. I think that if men read this, they would continuously forget that Lolita is literally a child, that Dolores is a child. I'm a woman, so I never forget. But even in his descriptions of things that don't revolve around her, it's kind of that you forget that you're reading this memoir of this guy who had a quote unquote relationship with a 13 to 14-year-old girl, 12 to 14-year-old girl. And then he'll drop something in that is just like so, ooh, icky, I guess is the best word to describe it, that brings you all back. But like Humbert doesn't know that it brings you all back. Yeah, this was good. And I think it was so, so smart of Nabokov to choose to make his victim in this story a 12 to 14-year-old girl and not a 5-year-old girl, a any boy, any little boy from any age. It was so ingenious to choose a teenage girl to be the victim of this story. And he does a really good job at portraying her. Like, there are so many characteristics where Humbert might be like, oh, she's like a little mature for her age. She doesn't like these boys that are her age. I kind of wonder what may have led to that to happen. Things like that, like his descriptions don't match up with what is clearly the reality, which is that she is a child. And he describes her knobby knees and dirty fingernails and clothes, not in like a she's poor or anything like that, but in a way that like she's a child and so she's playing outside. And her obsession with magazines and interacting with strangers is so juvenile. It was very smart. There was this one part, again, I don't know if it like would click for men, any male audience reading this, but I did because I do know my measurements. I feel like if you've ever been a bridesmaid, you have to know your measurements. I think I don't know where they're going or what they're doing, but he lists out her measurements and they're so small and they're so incongruent with an adult female body. Again, it's just like so clear that she's a child, that she's a teenager coming into herself. Yeah. And back to, I think, it being smart that he chose a 13-ish year old girl as his victim. You would like, I think that, like, on the outside, if you're not really thinking too hard about it, you could say, like, duh, like 13-year-olds are children. That's gross, disgusting, blah, 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 whatever. Everybody knows that. But the president of the United States, I think, right? And all of the people around him agree and defend like him saying like, oh, 10 years old, like that's old enough. Who said that? Somebody said that in our current presidential administration, which is so heartening. Love that. But it's that's not a woman, that's a child. That is a child. Even if she goes up to 15, she's still a child. I mean, like, spoilers ahead for the this 75-year-old novel, but the end, she's pregnant and married with somebody else. She's run off, but she's still a child. She's still only 17 or 18. The boy that she's with is it's not really clear how old he is. He's young, so I guess he's more quote unquote age appropriate. I guess that could mean that he's still like 25. I don't know if that, like, in the 50s, if how that would have been viewed. Now it's that would be fucking weird, but anyway, she's kind of more with a quote unquote age appropriate partner. She's married to him and she's pregnant, and it's still just so clear that she's a child. This was a really well done book. I might have to bump my rating. Nabokov, I know they shunned you, but you did a good job. He knows he did a good job. He also thinks highly of himself. So yeah, that's my end. That's my personal end rant of Lolita. I'm actually gonna go on a run, and hence the outfit and the hair. When I'm on my run, I'm going to listen to a podcast about the book and see other thoughts and stuff. So I might come back and have other things to add. This was really well done. I gave it 4. It might be 4.5 or 5. I've just like I've really been missing a novel that like gives me something, that like gives me something to think about, to feel about, to that feels new and interesting. This did it. The last book that I read, Canticle by Janet Rich Edwards, I really liked that book too. That one was different. That one was interesting. It was about this girl that gets, she kind of runs away from home, but then she also gets put with the Beguines. I think that's how you pronounce it. I had to look it up. And she, which is this group of women in medieval Europe who were religious and were devoting their life to Christianity, and all lived together and supported each other, and they were self-sufficient. They like, worked for their money and all supported each other, but they didn't devote their life to Christ. So they weren't like nuns where they can't ever get married. You can leave the Beguine, which was really interesting to read about. I've never heard of them. The story, while very Christian, not like in a like it's trying to convert me to Christianity. It was just like she first runs away to the friars. There's a lot of Christianity happening in that book. It was really interesting. It was really different. It's thought provoking of women in the medieval ages and their options that they had. Um, I liked that book a lot too. That one got 5 stars. You guys should read it. I got it from Aardvark. But yeah, I'm a fan of this novel. I wouldn't recommend it unless you have a stable mind. Sure. I also think it's really telling. I think I may have already brought this up, that this was the one book that Jeffrey Epstein kept on his nightstand. Yeah, because you're fucking sick in the head, you fucking weirdo. We're sick in the head. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go on a run. I'm gonna listen to a podcast. I just wanted to give my thoughts before I listened to this podcast because I didn't want them to be like tainted with the opinion of somebody else, because I'm weak when it comes to that. I will embody somebody else's opinion if I do agree with it. So, yeah, maybe I'll come back and I'll have some new thoughts, and then I'm gonna go to the grocery store. What else am I think today I'm just gonna mainly edit. What is the other? I guess I'll take a look at my TBR shelf because I do kind of want to start that trilogy. I guess it's a series. I guess there's four of that like middle grade princess series. But I might start something else. Now I feel smart and I want to start something smarter than that. But maybe it would be good to, after watching something or reading something so heavy and just a lot, maybe it would be nice to kick back and relax with a stupid little book. I don't know. We'll take a look and decide. I think my last update, I was talking about Lolita and how much I really liked it. I forget if I said what rating I was going to give it, but I just like went on all of my like tracker apps, which I use a lot. I can link them below. I bumped it up to a 5 star. Did that pre-listening to the podcast that I listened to yesterday just because I was thinking about it and I thought that was such a good book. Sorry if you can hear the wind. It's really blowing right now. I mean, we are in the Windy City. But anyway, then I did listen to a few podcasts too, yeah, about it. Listened to a few podcasts about it while I was on my run yesterday. I listened to the History of Literature podcast, Overdue, and then I started to listen to Book Club from Hell. I thought the History of Literature one was kind of the best because they were the only one that weren't scared to talk about it. I feel like Overdue in the Book Club from Hell, the first like 20 minutes of the podcast was them being like, "Ooh, I hated reading about a pedophile, but it was good, but I hated reading about a pedophile. I wanted to make it very clear that I'm anti-pedophile," which got kind of annoying. Like, we get it, you're anti-pedophile. Most well-adjusted people are. And Overdue, I feel like the guy that read it, like, almost seemingly didn't want to talk about it. He did say that he was coming off of a cold, so that probably had something to do with it. The other host of that podcast kind of like had engaging and interesting questions, but it just like the other guy that read it like did not want to talk about it, it seems like. And then when I started listening to the Book Club from Hell, they both okay, and also everyone was a man. Where are the women? I feel like I'm not afraid to talk about this podcast, and maybe it's because like I'm or less likely to be accused of being a pedophile, but and having an affliction for 12-year-old girls, but these men, oh my god, they really did not want to talk about it. They kept like, especially the guys from the Book Club from Hell, like the first like 30 minutes was just like meandering condemning of pedophilia. We get Anyway, why am I ranting about this? I really liked the book. I gave it 5 stars. The more I thought about it, the better I thought it was. And it's just such a thought-provoking and well done novel that I really liked it. Some things that I took away from the podcasts were actually the only things I took away from any of them were from the History of Literature podcast. And they were talking about how Vera, Vladimir's wife, didn't recommend teenage girls read it or didn't think that teenage girls should read it, which I guess I kind of agree with. I can see how that might be damaging for them and how they might want to romanticize that, but at the same time, I don't think that you should hide difficult literature from teenagers just because I don't know. I think that teenagers should be able to explore opinions and critical thinking like adults do. It's how they learn. Um, maybe with a smidge of supervision, but I kind of get it. I feel like teenage girls would read this and be like, "That's so beautiful," because I would have as a teenage girl. I did want to be Lana Del Rey when I was younger. I did want to be one of the girls in "This Is What Makes Us Girls" by Lana Del Rey. Yeah, that is what I wanted to embody. I never did. I was too scared. Anyway, moving on from that. Then what did I do yesterday? I went on my run. I did some laundry. I edited a bit. I went over to my friends and watched my dog or her dog. And then I did that again this morning. I stopped by a bookstore to try and pick up White Fragility, but I couldn't find it. And it was really busy in there. And something was embarrassing me about going up to the desk clerk in a small, busy bookstore and being like, "Do you have White Fragility?" So I didn't do that. And then I placed a hold at my library, which means that it probably won't get here until like Tuesday, which is kind of annoying. But whatever, it's fine. While I was watching my friend's dog this morning, I did start reading The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. Can I just say, I do not like how on aardvark books they have this like metallic imprint for the spine. I feel like after I've been reading the book for a while, my hand starts to like the heat from my hand starts to soften it and then it starts to come off and it gets all over my hands. Every single time I read an aardvark book, I'm like, where's all this glitter coming from? It's coming from the spine. Anyway, this is not really what I thought it was going to be. It is about Peter Sutcliffe, like just straight out, not like a Bright Young Women take where like you're kind of vaguely referencing Ted Bundy. This is about Peter Sutcliffe. I wasn't really looking for true crime, but I'm already like 50, I think I'm 45 pages in, 46. I don't know if I want to put it down per se. It's kind of a long book. And like I don't really know if I'm in the mood. I almost picked up if an Egyptian cannot speak English, but I did not. I also almost picked up A Great and Terrible Beauty, but I did not because actually I forgot to mention this last night and I finished it this morning. I did read The Frog Princess by E.D. Baker. Um I have no comments. This was a perfectly fine magical middle grade novel. I mean, of course it was a little cheesy. Of course it was a little blunt, I will say, but it's a middle grade novel. Like, what else can I say? And it did give me the beautiful amount of whimsical, childish, in a good way, imagery that I was craving post Lolita. So I did enjoy that. I didn't really want to pick up the other two books though. So I think it was because, like, the story is for children, so it's extremely formulaic. And we did get to a point where, like, problems kept happening that were preventing uh, the girl from reaching the solution. And I was just like, oh my God, can she just put this fucking bracelet on and say what she needs to say? Like, good Lord. And so I was like, I can't read that again. So that's why I picked this up. I feel like I'm getting really rambly with this. This is fine. I'm going to continue reading it. All of the reviews are really good. It has like a really high average rating on Goodreads, like a 4.4 or something. Usually those books are either I really like them or I don't like them at all. So I don't know. We'll see. That's what I've been up to. Tonight I'm going out. So that's what I'm gonna do.